Hello, welcome back. Since the last time we've talked, the Sixers have had a tale of two games. But if you watched my last video, you would know that that's inherently a good thing, you know, because the Sixers had a do or die game seven. That was the good game they had. They went back to Boston off two consecutive wins and they beat them by 9 points. They were up 17. Boston cut it all the way down to one. But the Sixers held on because Boston just couldn't find that last shot to take the lead at the end. They had like th- three or four chances, but they just couldn't get it. Um, so the Sixers ended up winning. They then marched into New York off of no rest. New York had 4 days of rest, by the way. So no rest off a do or die game seven. And Mikal Bridges punched Embiid in the appendix in the first quarter. That was ridiculous. I don't know how that wasn't a flagrant. It's not a basketball play when you're going off a screen and you punch like that. I don't know what was going on there. It wasn't called. You know, like Embiid said, Brunson was flopping, but they lost by 40. So it doesn't matter because there's nothing that could have been done. Um, Flopping wise or not flopping wise, that would have changed that game. That was just a horrible game for the Sixers. But honestly, I'm not worried, right? Like, obviously, losing game one by a large margin isn't good, right? It's bad. It's a sign of bad things to come. But the Sixers have showed us that it might not mean anything at the same time. You might go take home court advantage tomorrow night, um, and come back. Now, obviously, in this series, home court advantage for the Sixers is not as much as it was against Boston because New York are right above us and they can't afford tickets in MSG, so they come down and they take all the tickets here. They try and limit that by only selling to people in Philly, but you know that ain't gonna work, right? Like the area code thing doesn't work. They just do it so that to say they're doing it. It's just one of those things you have to do to make it look like you care more than you do as the rich owners. um, Literally in the Epstein files, by the way. I just like they need to get every hire up for the Sixer needs to go. Daryl Morey, Josh Harris, not Nick Nurse. I think he's a good coach, and obviously, if you haven't heard the news about Nick Nurse, his brother died before Game 6, so he was at his funeral today, I believe, or traveled down to his family. So he coached through Game 6, 7, and Game 1 in the Knicks series. Um, with that weight on his shoulders, and obviously we still won Game 6 and 7. So really impressive by him to be able to do that. That takes a lot of strength, obviously, and um, it's just a terrible thing to happen to someone, and he still was able to show up to his job and get it done. So great to see. I think he'll obviously be at the game tomorrow, but had an off day, spend it with your family in that situation, 100%. Because the other one was a travel day, this one's not. Um, but the Sixers got run out of the gym in game one. 40 points, 39 technically. And you look at the stats, and here's what you see, right? You see Brunson shot 66% from the field. Mikal Bridges shot 70% from the field. Cat shot 60% from the field. OG shot 90% from the field. Um, and then there's some good shooting numbers at the bottom, but they're not playing game two. But my point is and Hart shot 42%, which isn't good, which isn't like great like like anything above 60 is great, like insane. 40's good, right? So those were some insane numbers. And then you look at the Sixers, and Pete shot 27%. Tyrese, what do you shoot? Where are you? 30%. So those are our best two players. Paul shot 55%. He had a decent game. Kelly 62%. Those are all closer to the basket looks. So when we're talking about Brunson, we're talking about mid ranges threes. OG, we're talking about threes. Cat, we were talking about threes last night specifically. The Sixers also shot 36.7% from three compared to the Knicks 51% from the three. 51% from the three is insane. For reference, Boston shot below 30% in all the games the Sixers won to end the series. And then in the one game that Boston won by 30 points right before that, they shot 45% from three. So for reference, the Knicks shot 6% better than the Celtics did, and the Celtics beat us by 30. So you have to keep in mind that these things are most likely not going to be sustainable through 7 games. So if the Knicks come out and they shoot like Boston did, lower than 30% for three or around that, the Sixers should hopefully be able to take advantage. Obviously, it's not the same as Boston because Boston lives by a three, so they die by the three. The Knicks have other plays and there were some problems. For example, the Sixers had it close in the first quarter. It was about 15-16 or something like that. And then the Knicks ran 5 straight pick and roll plays with Jalen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson and got buckets off of every single one. We should know how to guard the pick and roll at least to a degree where you're not getting it 6 times in a row. So that was a problem. And then obviously, you point to the problem where we couldn't make a shot. Our best 2 players shot terribly, and obviously Embiid was not 100%. If he said he was lying, right? He was obviously joking when he said that, but it wasn't true. And I stand by the fact I don't think Sixers would have won the game regardless, but Mikal Bridges did give Embiid a knock to the appendix, like that area, very purposefully. I'm surprised he wasn't given even a common foul for that, like an offensive foul. But it is what it is because that was a. I don't know if push offs you have to have the ball because he did push him. I think he probably had to have the ball for that to matter. But it was a foul. Didn't get called. You gotta move on. You gotta hope Embiid's fine, because he really is the best player, man. But again, it sucks to lose. It sucks even more to get run out of the gym. But we're not in the Champions League. This isn't the playoffs of Champions League where you lose by 40 one night, you got to win the next game by 41 or you're out, right? This is the NBA playoffs. You lose a game by 40 points, you win the next one by 2 points, the series is tied, right? So it's yes, it's a 40-point loss, but at the end of the day, it's one game, and you gotta win 4. So at the end of the day, they're just one win closer than we are, and we can get that win tomorrow night. Obviously, like you think, oh well, it shows this, it shows that, but I really hope that Celtics series where we lost game 1 by 30 and then won game 2 will help us not fall into that mindset of yeah, it's only one game, but the game was so bad that's we can't because we 100% can. They are not that good of a team. They just play extremely well. They were well rested, and hopefully the fact that we got blown out so bad and we're able to not play all starters 40 minutes. Because if it's a 1 point game and all our stars are playing 40 minutes and we lose, that's honestly worse because then they're not rested. And that is rooted in some copium saying that you'd rather lose by 40 than one because that's obviously not true. But you know what I'm saying in a sense to where they didn't have to play the entire game like they did in the previous series. So hopefully they'll be more rested, ready to go. And 40 points, 3 points. Again, it's the same difference as the way it's just a loss. You got to be able to move past it. I still believe in this team. I still think they can win the series. Not the way you want to start it, but you win game 2 and suddenly you're going to be a higher percent win the series than you were going in and you lost the game at 40 points, right? And even if they lose game 2, that's not the end of the series either. You know what I mean? So you got to just remember these things that you can't let that define you. You can't let that one game turn to the whole series. And I really hope that and really believe that they'll be able to move past it because I believe in this team. I think when all these guys are playing, if only like when we have a lineup on the floor that's Paul George, VJ Edgecombe, Maxey, Kelly, and Embiid, if you have 2 of those guys playing really well on a night, then you have a good chance to win a basketball game, right? And so we just have to be better on defense. 100%. You can't let a team score 140. Like that's what it boils down to. Is yeah, we stalled on offense, but they put up 140 points. It doesn't matter if we had an average or slightly above average game. We still lose by 20, right? So they gotta hopefully be able to stall on defense. And I don't want to say it's a scheduled loss. But when Game 7's 2 days ago, and we haven't seen this team in a month or two, we don't know how they're going to come out because they beat the last team they played by 60, so they didn't really play that much. You gotta think, and you gotta be like, okay, now we've seen what they're capable of. We've seen them at their peak, the top of the mountain. So now we can game plan around that, and if it is not that, then it's better for us because they're playing worse, right? Um, so while it sucks to lose a game in that fashion, it's an important reminder to just get back on pace. Yeah, the 3-1 comeback was cool. It was nice. They're the first ever Sixers team to do it, first team since 2020 to do it. Um, and then, so some really impressive stuff there. But at the end of the day, it means nothing now. It just means that we're in the series. And so it's let's make it mean something. Let's make it mean that we make our first Eastern Conference Finals, or that we make our first finals in years and years, right? Like Embiid said, he's tired of losing. Maxey said that game is just one game. That's what I've been reiterating. Embiid was a little salty in the post game, just a little bit. So hopefully he can use that as motivation instead of excuse in a way. Like you can, yeah, it's not an excuse, but you can use that as a motivation. I'm hoping, and so just the key things to remember is gotta play better defense, and gotta just you gotta win 4 out of 7. It's not game one that decides it. It's game 7, game 6. The later games decide these series more, but you just can't dig yourself in such a divot that you can't get it to game 6. But I still believe in this team. I still believe in their capabilities. I think we have a really talented roster. I think our roster is more talented than their roster, and I think we can beat this team in Madison Square Garden tomorrow night. And I won't be surprised when we do it. Right? I won't be surprised when we do it, and because it's not an if, it's a when. It's bound. It's the Sixers, right? They lose game 1 by 40, they're gonna win game 2 by 15. It's just what they do. We've been doing this for years and years now. It's a roundabout. We're back at the Sixers get blown out and then win to give you hope, and then we've been here before, but we haven't been to the ECF before. So hopefully that's what we can accomplish this year. And I leave you with that. Just remember, go Sixers. Come on, you Spurs, out of the relegation zone. Aston Villa, how's that taste? Conor Gallagher, war a goal. Tiafo returning in Rome this week. Sixers win tomorrow. It's going to be a great week. Big Foe traveled down to Italy, got that back fixed. He's going to beat Sinner in the quarterfinals. I'm calling it now. He's going to win the whole tournament. No Carlos. Why not? Obviously that's not happening. But if he makes the quarterfinals if he beats Arthur Feast, I'll be happy. That's the matchup I think he'll get out in. But that's completely irrelevant to the topic. So there's my little late ramble. And goodbye.